It's 9:25. Welcome back to Living in Oklahoma. It is time that you know the law when it comes to the differences between Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcy. We hear it all the time. Very excited to welcome attorney Mike Rose. He's with the law offices of Michael J. Rose, PC. There's a lot of questions about this. We hear about corporations being PC for making sure these big corporations, sometimes we hear about going into bankruptcy, but personal bankruptcy is actually sometimes people, I guess, view it as like a new beginning or maybe a way out. What would you describe bankruptcy as?
Well, they call it a fresh start, and it really depends on the chapter.
Okay.
There are some types of debts that are difficult or impossible to get rid of in bankruptcy. Things like recent taxes, child support,
Student loans, are they?
Student
okay.
loans, debts incurred by fraud. There's a long list that's too long to go through here, but those are the big ones.
Okay.
And so the type of bankruptcy you file really is going to depend on your individual situation, what sort of income you have, what sort of debts you have.
All right. Then let's talk specifically Chapter 7. What does that mean?
Chapter 7 is often called a simple bankruptcy or a liquidation, and that's what most people file when they file bankruptcy. What happens in a Chapter 7 is that we file a petition with the bankruptcy court. About a month later, there's a meeting called the Meeting of Creditors, and a couple of months after that, the court issues a discharge. So it's a fairly short process. The end result in a Chapter 7 is that you get rid of unsecured debts, things like credit cards, medical bills, loans, things that don't have collateral. A lot of people think that you lose property when you file bankruptcy. Most people that have a home loan or a car loan keep making those payments, and so they don't lose property.
And I'd imagine those creditors, like with the cars, they actually probably appreciate it because, like, well, now you have that income to pay me, you know, the people that, like, for your car and that sort of thing, right?
That's right. And if you have the types of debts that you cannot get rid of in Chapter 7, sometimes getting rid of the types of debts that you can get rid of, for example, if you have a lot of tax debt and credit card debt, a lot of times getting rid of the credit card debt will give you more income per month to take care of your tax liability. Or you can think about filing a reorganization in a situation
And
like
then 13, which we hear about, what is that?
Chapter 13 is a reorganization.
Okay.
You hear about companies filing Chapter 11. Chapter 13 is a reorganization for individuals, and the most common reasons that I would suggest a Chapter 13 to someone instead of a Chapter 7 would be things like if I have a client that's behind on a mortgage and needs to keep the home out of foreclosure. That's what Chapter 13 is for.
Okay.
People that are behind on taxes. Sometimes people get behind on a car payment. They need to keep their car. Sometimes people don't qualify for Chapter 7 because they filed recently or they make too much money according to the bankruptcy code, and Chapter 13 is always a good option for those people.
All right, and we'd be remiss to say, you know, we should also try to pay these things off before going into any kind of bankruptcy. And you're talking to your debtors and making sure that maybe you can work out a plan, and that's generally, if you can't and you still don't have enough money, they would come to you to be able to go get
Right. Most people know when they're in financial
Right.
trouble. A lot of people come to my office because they've tried to obtain a home mortgage and were told that their credit needs to be cleaned up, and a bankruptcy is one of the fastest ways to do that. But the key to knowing if you're in trouble is figuring out how much money you have coming in every month, how much you need to support yourself and your family. Keeping in mind things like food, clothing, the necessary expenses, and the money that's left over, disposable income, is supposed to be the money that you use to pay off your debts. If that's not working, you might need to talk to an attorney.
All right, very good. And Mike, you're a good one to talk about as well. And if you want to find out more about your rights when it comes to debt collection and bankruptcy laws, contact Michael J. Rose, PC. They're located at 4101 Perimeter Center Drive, Suite 120 in Oklahoma City. Their number 405-605-3757. MikeRoseLaw.com. And of course, they're on Facebook at Michael J. Rose, PC.